This season is a week old, and the panic has already set in.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess, and thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first order at Game Time. We are going to talk all about Marc Savard's interview on Flames Talk. I thought it was very insightful and educational, as well as important to tie in because the season is a week old and you would think that it is the end of March and the Flames are like fighting for their lives. And then, of course, we're going to talk about tomorrow's game against Buffalo. But make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts. That way you never miss an episode. We are here for you Monday through Friday. You can find us on your favorite platforms as well as YouTube. So today, actually that's a lie, last night I was minding my own business and I saw someone write out an essay about how Jonathan Huberdeau stinks and how the power play stinks. And I mind you, I traveled this weekend, so I wasn't really paying attention as closely to the game as I normally would. So I was thinking, did they not score 3 power play goals? And wasn't one of them Jonathan Huberdeau? But it's so frustrating, and we're going to talk more about that coming up here in a little bit, but the power play is truly going in a very different direction from where it was last year. And Marc Savard hits on that in this interview. He's talking about how this is a new approach, and it's all about getting the right bodies in the right places. And the goal is to be one step ahead and moving the pucks quicker. This is not the approach that the Flames, maybe they were trying to take last year, but they weren't effective in. And it's literally 3 games into the season. And the power play is at 27%, while the league average is what? 19. So the Flames power play and really offense in general is starting off fine. Yes, there have been moments where it's like, you can't give me anything more than that, but that's going to happen. It is a 60-minute game. And one thing Marc Savard also talked about was how impressed he was with the zone entries. And if you've listened to this show at all, especially over the offseason, Nick and I talked a lot about what the Flames needed to improve on, and those were zone entries. They couldn't just be the dumping and chasing. It needed to have some sort of structure to it, and it's nice to see that beginning to form. It's obviously going to take more than 3 games for something to look fully developed and for something to become fully developed, but Marc Savard he is able to put things in a way that is very educational and very informative, and easy to understand. And that's why he makes a good coach. Also because, he knows what he's doing. But effective communication typically gets you a long way, and it's working. And during the interview with Flames Talk, he was talking about Matt Coronato and why he might not be the best guy for the net front presence on the power play. He is a shooter. He is not necessarily someone that is going to be, looking to tip in. He wants to shoot. He's a sniper. And Savard even says that. He's like, this isn't like a knock at him. And then goes on to compliment how he searches for the puck, how he's quick to move the puck, how he will, kind of get in there for the puck to maintain or to regain control. And that is something we didn't have last year. We did not have a coach that, number one, could communicate, that would tell us, elaborate on anything, and then compliment a player after some maybe like constructive feedback. I don't even know if we gave constructive feedback at all last year publicly, but it was great to see that he wants Coronato to stay on the power play because he is an important player and he's able to score. But it's guys like Rasmus Andersson who, are getting more comfortable shooting and putting pucks on net on the power play that are going to be taking those shots rather than Coronato. So he's trying to figure things out. And that's something else we're going to talk about in a little bit here, because Rome wasn't built in a day. A successful hockey roster is not built in 3 games. One thing that I actually really enjoyed was the compliments that he was giving to the players and, giving them credit where credit is due. And also just, making things known. When you are a coach or you're representing a team, right? Or really, any organization, any business, whatever, like you're speaking on behalf of your work for this company, or organization. You get the point. There are certain things you don't talk about, and then there are certain things that, you're going to praise and bring light to. And I think that Dillon Dube getting a nice little pat on the back here for his work ethic and how he's one of the last guys off the ice at practice. And he went over to Ruzicka and apologized after the goal that he scored because he wasn't able to, because of a bad pass rather. So it was, it's great to hear that, number one, Dillon Dube is, still flying around this locker room and he's not getting, too down on himself because things really haven't been going in his favor. But it's just important. And one last thing we're going to touch on here before we take a quick break, but Savard emphasized that the whole coaching staff is building confidence and rebuilding that kind of sense of, I can do it, believing in yourself, confidence, really, and giving them the freedom to make mistakes. He said, I'm not going to yell at you every time you turn the puck over, but I am going to remind you, hey, you don't want to do that. And this is, a good way to remedy it. So the world is not ending. The sky is not falling. I promise you, in a month, if things are still looking a little shaky here, then we can talk. 4 games into this, I don't think we need to be panicking. And we're going to talk more about that next, because there's a lot to be said about that. And before we do that, though, I do want to take a quick break and talk to you about our friends at Game Time. I love the Game Time app. It is one of my go-to resources when I'm looking to go to a concert, to hockey games, when I'm trying to plan my trips to Montreal or back to Boston or maybe downstate to New York City, so I can catch local events, because entertainment is very important to me. And with Game Time, you get the best prices and the best seats, and you can actually view the view from your seats. And to me, that is so helpful. I really like that. All you have to do to get these great last minute tickets, flash deals, and zone deals is download the Game Time app. You can use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Super easy to use. And with zone deals, you pick the section And Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you will get the best price. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I love me a good sporting event. And when I'm not spending my money on sporting events, you know what I am spending it on? My car. eBay Motors is what you need to keep your car in tip-top shape, so it is your MVP, especially as winter comes around. If you are listening to this and you live in Canada or the Northeast, North, you experience the cold, you experience the winter. It is so important to have your car ready and prepared for those god-awful months of inconvenient weather that makes driving less fun. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. eBay Motors, it has over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You will easily and always find exactly what you're looking for with the eBay Guaranteed Fit. The part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you'll need at the price you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to United States customers. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. We're just cruising really through the week. The Flames haven't played hockey in 2 days, and I think some of us are resorting back to the dog days of summer because some of this is just absolutely brutal. And the season quite literally just started. At the time I'm recording this, the season is still not a full week old. They played a home game and then immediately jumped on a plane to fly east. Number one, flying across the country is not delightful. That is so just inconvenient and not fun. But I mean, I imagine it's a little bit more enjoyable when you're on like a private jet and not crammed in the back of the plane when in economy. But the players are still settling in. If there's one thing this podcast's going to do, it's going to remind you these players are human beings. And while they are some of the best athletes in the world, they are also people that are adjusting to a new work environment. Because guess what? There's some new people in charge. And I don't think it is unreasonable for players to give them time to shake those cobwebs off and get yourself going. 3 power play goals in 3 games is good. To have your penalty kill, to have killed off 100% of the penalties so far this season is great. It has only been 3 games. If we are going to sit here this entire season and just doom and gloom on everything, it's going to be a long 82 games. And we already experienced that. Why bring on any extra outside negativity that you kind of have to search for? Yes. Has Jonathan Huberdeau had some questionable shifts? Sure. Has Connor McDavid had questionable shifts this season? Yes. People need to remember that athletes are human beings. You do not hold yourself to these same standards. Heaven forbid you do and you make a mistake. I feel bad for you. I do, because it does not need to be that serious. Nazem Kadri not finding the score sheet yet, it's not the end of the world. Again, 3 games. He has had 2 youngish wingers on his sides, and I I don't know how that's working. And I'm sure if I notice it, there is a coach that notices it, because if I get to sit here and watch this game from the luxury of my home, not, I mean, I guess I'm technically working while watching a game, but I'm watching casually. Like, it's not my job on the line. I'm picking up on these things. Someone that is hypercritical of the team and has to fix these mistakes is going to notice them too. Everyone wants to argue advanced stats versus, standard stats versus the eye test. They all hold some weight. Let's talk about Milan Lucic last year. It was brutal watching him. His eye test was failed. His stats also aligned with that. When he went out there and scored those 2 goals when he was on I believe it was the second line, he still didn't look great. But guess what? He scored 2 goals. Sometimes your goals and your wins are going to come from ugly hockey. You talk about grit, you talk about doing whatever it takes to win. It's not always going to be pretty. And 3 games truly is not enough of a sample size rather, to determine anything. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Flames are destined for an amazing season after going 1-1-1. Do I think that they're trending in a direction that could be good if they turn it around tomorrow against Buffalo? Sure. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's, it is doomsday, because it's not. There's so much hockey left to be played, and I don't think we as fans need to really overanalyze everything. Like, if someone has a bad shift, let's hope that the next one's better. Like, until those shifts rather are truly impacting the result of the games, we don't need to really stress about it. Huberdeau has looked fine. He has looked, in all of the minutes he's played, he's looked fine. He's looked good. Nazem Kadri not getting on the score sheet is not that big of a deal, because guess what? There's still a lot of hockey to be played. If your assistant coach is saying the team looks better and better out there every night, then I'm going to say that the expert here has, there's some validity to that, rather than first name, bunch of numbers, Flames fan, or any hockey fan on Twitter. I'm sorry. A coach's criticism, for the most part, truly for the most part here, is not it's not the end all be all, but it typically, there's some truth in it. And the Flames have looked good. So we just need to keep it going. Make it through this road trip. Hopefully win the next 3 games and then head back home. Because this team has always played better at home. So it's going to be interesting. I really don't think there's any need to start panicking, because you don't need to. There's plenty of hockey left. And coming up next, we are going to talk all about the game tomorrow up in the western part of New York against the 1-2-0 Buffalo Sabres. And before we do that, though, we are going to take a quick break, and I'm going to talk to you about Sleeper. With players like Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Sidney Crosby, all you need to do to make the most out of Sleeper is pick more or less on stats for these stars. Sleeper has you covered from goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. And it is great because with Sleeper, you're participating in daily fantasy sports. If you enjoy, that extra competition and the challenge of, predicting things correctly, Sleeper is the app for you. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around with me here on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts, and most importantly, you are subscribed on YouTube because we are going to be bringing you some visuals relatively soon. Because if you are someone that enjoys hockey like me, sometimes the visuals help make things look, a little more digestible and you're able to understand a little bit better. But the Flames are looking to get back on track here in Buffalo, and there's always a chance that they don't. Again, my optimism will not be what it is right now. But if they do, it's, a step forward in the right direction. And the Sabres have just had a questionable start to the season as well. They lost their home opener against the Rangers 5-1. And then they went to Long Island and lost there. Last night, they were able to squeeze out an overtime win against Tampa, and they really just got lucky there. And all it really does take is that one extra goal, but it does take that one extra goal to put you on top. And hopefully the Flames are able to do that without needing extra hockey. I was interested to see, I was looking at the stats for the Sabres because when I preview a game, I like to see where, everyone's at. And I was looking at their power play, the Sabres power play. You think the Flames power play is bad at 27%? The Sabres are a zero. A zero. As of this very moment, before puck drop on Thursday against the Calgary Flames, they are 0 for 8. Do you know what the Flames penalty kill is? 100%. They have killed every penalty that has come their way. And to me, that looks like a match made in heaven, especially because we do know, we have seen that the Flames do like to take some silly penalties, and it's really not any different for Buffalo either. It's a young team, and sometimes emotions get the best of you. And if you're really looking for players to watch, I think Jeff Skinner is going to be someone you should just keep your eyes on at all times. He his goal song is so funny. It's from High School Musical, and he's just so unserious and a delight. I don't know if they're still doing it, but if you get a chance, you should absolutely watch Between Two Stalls, which was a segment show he did last year where he interviewed his teammates, and it was very much like a Saturday Night Live skit. I do think that Jeff Skinner is someone that could be a problem for the Flames offensively. He likes to score. He does, pretty nice things to get those goals. So it's a matter of the Flames remaining one step ahead of their opponents here. Devin Levi is so interesting. He is the goaltender out of Northeastern University, and He is very much the future of Buffalo's goaltending. He is, I believe he won the Bean Pot last year with Northeastern and made his debut late last year as well. And he's a cool guy. You know, he is someone that is so locked in and takes his job very seriously, as he should. Alex Tuck and Tage Thompson are also two other players that, you know, they're there offensively, and you got to keep an eye on them. Someone you can count on taking sloppy penalties is Connor Clifton. He's going to throw a big hit potentially, and that's all he does. You can walk him like a dog. It's fairly simple to do. I've seen it happen on multiple occasions. It's looking like Dan Vladar will also be in net as well. There's no reason to read into this. Dan Vladar needed to start a game at some point, and it just happens to be this one. And conveniently, this is right after those conversations of a trade have supposedly ramped back up. Now, I don't know if the Flames will do it, but occasionally I know for the Bruins, they'll tweet out, like, especially around the trade deadline, what scouts are there for what teams. So I'll be interested to see if someone is able to kind of report on that tomorrow night and see if there are any scouts in the box watching, because, you know, Dan Vladar, decent goalie with a decent contract. Why not if you need a goalie? But regardless, the Flames should win this game. They also should have won the game against Pittsburgh and Washington, but those silly mistakes add up. So let's minimize those mistakes and get to where we need to be. And I will be back tomorrow to talk all about this game and how hopefully those mistakes were able to lead to a win, because we don't need to do any of that again. We can learn from those. And make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, because we are here for you every single day, your team every day. Thank you so much for tuning in every day. It means a lot to me and Nick as you support our content and hopefully agree with our takes. And if you don't, that's fine too. I would love to hear what you have to say, and you can leave some comments on YouTube, or you can leave a nice little 5-star rating and leave your comment in a review. Just an idea. And that will do it for me today, because we are running up against the clock. But I will see you all tomorrow. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and stay warm.